Hi, hello. Welcome to an episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 23rd, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good, as you well know. Same day, another episode, doubleheader. Figured I did have a lot of news, and I did have enough time to get after it, so let's make it happen. Excuse me, I'm already burping. So yeah, no need to yada 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 about my life, about my pretty little blog. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into the news. Oh. Straight to the water. All right. So we are starting off with some Israel-Lebanon news. Like I mentioned in the previous episode, Trump did mention an extension of the ceasefire. It has been extended by 3 weeks. Trump says Israel-Lebanon ceasefire extended by 3 weeks. Now, granted, once again, that's Trump talk. Also, it's worth noting, what good is the mention of a ceasefire if there are still hostile actions going on, which we are actually going to get into. That's kind of more or less the meat of what I wanted to cover out of this region. But from The Guardian, Israeli killing of Lebanese journalist draws international condemnation. Israel's killing of a prominent Lebanese journalist in a double tap strike has been greeted with international outrage as Lebanon's prime minister described the attack as a war crime. Now, this is the second time I feel like in a week cycle that we've mentioned like double tap, or in the previous episode that we had talked about this kind of thing. It was a triple tap strike. Just to reemphasize what that is. Essentially, that is, in this situation, the IDF says, okay, we have a target. We've identified our target. We hit our target in our first strike. That's the first fucking tap. The second is, now we've identified that, yeah, we definitely hit somebody. We hit something. There's still movement, though. So therein lies the other taps that happen after that. All throughout that, you understand exactly who you are hitting. Previously in the story where we were talking about the paramedics, you know you were hitting paramedics. It is a known thing. Israel cannot sit there and say, oh, wow, we were looking back at the footage and we're surprised at what we're seeing. No, you knew. In this situation, there is a journalist. You hit in one strike, you disable the vehicle, they wind up fleeing into a home. You know exactly where they are, and then you hit that home. That is the second strike. So, I mean, just so we are clear on what the fuck is happening here and why people are considering this a fucking war crime, a fucking atrocity, a calculated action. Because it is. And it's not the first time we've covered shit like this. Khalil, 43, who worked for I'm sure I'm fucking this up, Al-Bakr newspaper, was buried on Thursday. She was killed in what colleagues described as a sustained attack by Israeli forces, with rescuers attempting to dig her out of the rubble of a building also targeted and prevented from providing life-saving assistance. That's another thing I didn't mention. But what happened with the triple tap situation, where people were trying to then help the people who were trying to help others, and they get caught up in the second wave of the attack. So essentially, you are paralyzed if you're even trying to help a person in the situation, because Israel is saying, oh yeah, go for it. They then use that person, that situation, as live bait. But this is all an ethical thing, and we're not going to get to this in this article. But essentially, Israel says, oh, no, we're going to look into it. But everything we do is on the level. Everything we do is ethical. Okay, we made sure we look into this, and if something happened that was untoward or wrong, it was an accident. and no one's gonna be charged on it unless oh by golly, maybe we fuck up a white Jesus statue or something and we get caught doing that. But other than that, no, don't worry. We're gonna look into it though. Investigations are mounted. It's fucking bullshit. Let's see. Her death prompted renewed accusations that Israel has a policy of targeting media workers despite its repeated denials, which they fucking do. Also, it's worth noting that this is not just a thing that is isolated to just Lebanon. It is not a thing that is isolated to just post October 7th, 2020 fucking 3. This is something that they have been doing. Even something that in the small limited time of me podcasting, we've covered stories previous to that shit. It boggles the mind that you can literally just sit here and say, and you see the fucking press fest, and you go, yeah, hit him. Fucking hit him. Whether it's an airstrike, whether it's a fucking sniper round, it doesn't fucking matter. They know that you are here to tell and talk about their crimes, their atrocities. And you're not going to do that. You might as well be helping the enemy. That is literally more or less their through-a-line motto on that shit, and they operate on that. Whether they say that out loud sometimes, whether they fucking don't. And it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't justify it. It never will. Let's see. Khalil had previously spoken of receiving a threat via an unidentified Israeli phone number that she would be killed if she did not leave southern Lebanon, where she had long been based. Khalil's killing was condemned by senior figures from across Lebanese politics, even as they prepared for fresh talks in Washington on Thursday, aimed at extending a fraught ceasefire with Israel. So, there's more details here. You're more or less just getting Isaiah's Way story coverage on that. Obviously, this is a story that really frustrates me. I mean, the killing of anyone, period is, but it's just one of those things where this is just so blatant. It's just so loud. And it's one of those things where Israel will just do this kind of thing and the international community will say, man, that's really fucked up, man. That's so bad. But then you also then will still see from the BBC when they talk to like spokespeople about this shit from Lebanon or from, wherever this is fucking happening, they drill them on the fucking details of it. Like, are you sure? Are you 100% certain? Like, it's like Israel's just saying they wouldn't do that. Like, are you 100% sure? Is that your final answer? And it's like, yeah, man, this is very obvious. It's very blatant. They do this time in and time out. It has not changed. The only thing is that sometimes people will say something, but no one does anything. And of course, the BBC has nothing to really add to that. They're like, yeah, well, it's really unfortunate to see a journalist die. And anyway, here's the next news. It is a frustrating thing to just see and watch and know that it is going to happen again. And know that, once again, this is something that they are doing because, once again, these are the people who are showing you what is happening. And they're like, yeah, we're going to try to stop that. We're going to go out of our way to stop that. And no one's going to stop us from doing it. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we got the coverage on that story. All right, another story from The Guardian. This was a curveball. I wasn't expecting to talk about... to talk about fucking SantaCon today. But technically, I've spent hours listening on the history of SantaCon. And I'm not going to do a good job talking about this shit. But here we go. Once again, from The Guardian. Just what they wanted. Fed up New Yorkers revel in SantaCon fraud charge. On what started as an otherwise uneventful spring day in New York City, thousands of residents last week received what they felt was an early Christmas present. Stefan Pildes, organizer of SantaCon in New York City, was arrested on Wednesday morning for allegedly using hundreds of thousands from event-based charitable donations on his personal expenses, such as luxe vacations and extravagant meals, Manhattan federal prosecutors said. When news of Pildes' indictment broke, the social media reaction in the city, known for progressive views on criminal justice reform and decarceration, was filled with humor and schadenfreude. Lamau, internet expression for laughing my ass off, was one response, and ah ha 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 was another. You're telling me the worst thing that happens in NYC each year is also a con job? One person commented. One Blue Sky user posted, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." That the name of an event now associated with the alleged fraud counted con among its syllables only added to the irreverent chatter. Now, I'm curious, dear listeners, do you know what SantaCon even is? I was not hip to this shit. This shit was beyond me up until about maybe 8 years ago. And I remember my ex and her friend, they wanted to go out to what was called SantaCon. And I'm not a holly jolly dude. I'm not a festive spirit. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to chill. I'm going to do my usual weekend, whatever that was. And they went out and proceeded to then come back and tell me some crazy shit. Because I was like, wait, what? You're telling me you guys weren't like the only people at this? Like this was like a whole thing. Like I'm thinking in my head, it's like something like a donut crawl or something like that, like a donut run, and you just hit up some places and stuff, and maybe people have some beers and they're just in a Santa outfit, sure, whatever. No, it gets debaucherous because of course it does. It's fucking alcohol, right? Like, so they're telling me the most appraised fucking shit that's happening. It looked like they went to the fucking ringer. It looked like they fucking saved Private fucking Ryan out there in SantaCon, and that's just in my local, Cincinnati area shit. So apparently SantaCon has just been a thing. It's just been an ongoing yada, yada, yada. Now, I learned listening to TrueAnon, and I'm not going to give the story any kind of justice, but apparently it has some, like, anti-capitalist roots, and it was a whole fucking to-do, and there's a whole ton of historical context that I'm not good enough at illustrating. So, sadly, womp womp on that. That being said, it goes from being that moment to then becoming this wild debaucherous thing, and then okay, well, how are we gonna like kind of corral it? Well, we're gonna do some kind of like charitable action. Someone's gonna come and spearhead this shit again. I think for now this would be like the third wave of it. But it turns out that charity was like something to do with I believe Burning Man or something, and it's like wait, what? Wait, hold up. And once you start pulling away at the threads of this, and you start understanding, oh, this isn't a thread. This is a scam. Oh, okay, pretty good scam. But let's read. Let's do a little delving. Indeed, many New York City citizens have for years felt that SantaCon NYC brings more vomitous menace than holiday merriment to Manhattan streets. The event, which traces its roots to street theater and urban exploration enthusiasts in San Francisco, is now a sprawling bar crawl during which tens of thousands of mostly young people in Santa, Miss Claus, and elf costumes descend on residential neighborhoods such as East Village. After years of frustration with inevitabilities of mass day drinking, such as boozy brawls, and public urination, though you might see a bra on a SantaCon for sure. Many fed-up New York City businesses started banning Santa-clad revelers from their establishments. You want people to be able to go to nightlife establishments to have a good time, but when there are lines around the block and people are just acting inappropriately in a neighborhood where people actually live, you want someone to do a better job managing the overall event, said the New York City Council member Harvey Epstein, or is it Epstein, however they're pronouncing their name, whose district includes SantaCon affected neighborhoods such as the East Village. When you have events in New York City, the people who are running the events, it's controlled, Epstein said. They are responsible, being respectful. SantaCon is just a free-for-all. Now, I've heard some salacious stories, especially just in the New York scene. It definitely gets a la sexual. And it's just a bad way. It's just a messy way. It's people half-dressed. It's people getting naked. It's people getting fucking rowdy. So yeah, I get how this is a thing that people don't really, want to see in their town, in their local area. For me, I was glad that it was a very far away thing. I think the closest I got to SantaCon was like, there were some edges of it that people would kind of do at Northside, but the vibe was very like, you're getting the blowback from like people coming through downtown, so it really wasn't that major. It really wasn't massive around there. It's part of the reason why I like the Northside vibe, Let's see. SantaCon nevertheless continued under the auspices of charitable fundraising. Pleiades sold tickets for $10 to $20 that granted access to SantaCon-sanctioned venues and received up to 25% cut of participating bar sales, according to allegations in the indictment against him. Now, I think this kind of works out because I don't think really people were thinking twice about the charity in general. They just wanted to do the fucking thing. You know, like at this point, that's what SantaCon was. It's about getting rowdy. It's about having a good time in a fucking Santa Claus beard and just puking all over that motherfucker. Okay, like that's what it's about. It has no real meaning anymore. It's done. It's devoid of all that. But this charity thing kind of at least puts it on some rails. And then like within it, they tried to, the dude tried to kind of add some guidelines. You know, I think like there's like a level of S, so essentially just don't fucking shit up. You know. So yeah, I mean, it's loose, but at least it was something. And at least it was something that like, hey, it's an understanding that both sides of the conversation can have. The revelers, and then also the people providing the alcohol to said revelers, you know, because you don't want to have all this shit get crazy at your event. So I kind of understood the vibe here in the guise of the charity, but the thing is, it's like, it was just a guise. It wasn't even a real charity, and it's like, ooh, that's nasty. Let's see here. Plead repeatedly represented that these proceeds went to charity and claimed he didn't receive any money from SantaCon or related entities, telling one venue that no producer receives income from this event. This is a charity event, federal prosecutors allege. When SantaCon events generated about $2.7 million in proceeds from 2019 to 2024, Plead donated only a fraction of the millions of dollars he raised for charity, prosecutors alleged. They claim that Plead diverted more than half of his money to an entity he controlled that had no public connection to SantaCon, where he used those funds freely to finance various personal ventures, which I think is the Burning Man shit angle. But once again, don't quote me on that. I might be getting that fucking wrong. But that being said, it's like, dude, wild grift. But like, I mean, he just airbended the money into his fucking account, low key. Low fucking key. The Manhattan Borough President Brad Holyman Siegel told The Guardian, "I'm not surprised about the charges, but I am surprised it took so long for a prosecutor to look under the hood of this organization. I've been working to try to get SantaCon to follow a set of community guidelines in 2013, but when we first began that effort, they wouldn't even disclose who their president or CEO, or who was their president or CEO. They called him Santa's elf, and he remained anonymous." That'd be so fucking frustrating. Like, not only are you guys trying to be vague and mysterious, you're also being fucking cringe. And I'm just trying to make less puke run through the fucking streets. Please just answer the calls. Let's see here. I feel like that's where I want to fucking leave it for right now. The bond for Plead is set at $300,000. So obviously, you know, he's pleading like not guilty or whatever. But yeah, I imagine we'll come back to the story. Maybe I'll give a better history in the future. But once again, please go to TrueAnon. I don't know if that's a paywalled episode. That is actually the only place that I actually give my money to, because I really fuck with TrueAnon. But that episode was like, it literally took 2 hours, and like it took an hour because I literally timestamped it. I'm like, it took an hour for them to get to what the fuck are we talking about? This is about SantaCon, and I didn't even quite understand why we were talking about SantaCon, and then it dawned on me by the end of the episode, looking at the news, oh shit, because this just fucking happened. This guy's in the clink. Holy shit! I didn't know SantaCon ran that deep. God damn. So yeah, needless to say, is SantaCon fucked? Yeah, it's fucked. It's nasty. But there was something about this where I go, by the end of it, I'm like, is it no worse than like St. Patrick's Day? Yeah, we might not love a St. Patrick's Day, but we allow it every year. So like, I don't know, maybe let them cook for SantaCon. Am I crazy for that? Is that a hot take? I'm saying that though as a person who doesn't really have to like live through that. Like where I live, there's no SantaCon. There's no aftermath. There's no blowback. You know, so maybe it's good that SantaCon might be dying out or something. Or maybe SantaCon will never die. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. From Newsweek. Also, there's a paywalled story in the Vulture that is like essentially where this is sourced from, but I don't have access to that because I'm poor. In Mr. Beast's lawsuit, a controversial message about female employee in labor. Lorraine Mavromatis, a former employee at the social media company founded by YouTube star Jimmy Donaldson, known online as Mr. Beast, has filed a federal lawsuit alleging of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and retaliation by senior leadership, including Donaldson himself. Newsweek has reviewed a Slack message exchange around one allegation in the suit, which does not name Mr. Beast, the first YouTube creator to become a billionaire, as a defendant. The lawsuit, filed on Wednesday in North Carolina, is being supported by the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, which is providing media assistance in the case. The suit alleged that Mavra Mattis was excluded from all male meetings because she was uncomfortable with conversations that were taking place, that harassment of female employees was normalized, and that she was ultimately fired after raising these concerns and taking maternity leave. Now, I think I had heard a story that was related to this where, like, someone had chimed in and told her, like, she was in the meeting room or something, and then, like, Mr. Beast was, like, there, and he, like, dips out immediately, and he, like, doesn't come back. And it's like, okay, that's really weird. That's awkward. What happened? He's like, oh, well, like, because, look, Jimmy just has this thing, like, when, like, a girl who's, like, really attractive, like, really, really hot is around, he just, like, can't operate. And, like, he had to, like, go to the bathroom. And it's like, what? And, like, that's your boss? Also, there's more too. I mean, especially too if you have context, whether you're big into this whole YouTube sphere, the Mr. Beast verse. There has been a slew of allegations. I know at least a sliver of them we have covered, which really haven't seen him matriculate or kind of evolve anywhere. It seems like once the lawyers kind of got involved, shit just got really fucking quiet. But it does correlate and line up with some of the stuff she's saying, especially in terms of like the Jimmy Beast, the Jimmy Donaldson or whatever, the fucking corporate handbook, which is kind of fucking cooked. Also, the lack of real definable HR, that you can really rely on. And not to mention, too, I think she said that she was like the first person to try to say, hey, I'm going to use my maternity leave. And then shit gets awkward and she comes back to no fucking job, pretty much. But let's read further. In the lawsuit, I'm just going to keep fucking up her name, Mavra Mattis, said she was concerned how Donaldson would take the news of her pregnancy, in that she was the first employee in the company to ask for maternity leave benefits. She said she feared she'd be retaliated against if she did not work during her time off under the Family and Medical Leave Act, and that she was on a work conference while in labor and delivery room, which is insane. Newsweek obtained a screenshot of a Slack conversation from the day Mavra Mattis gave birth between her and a colleague. In the message, a coworker identified as Frank tells her that she should connect to discuss the ideas she had. Mavra Mattis tells Frank that she'll need to cancel and postpone because she's in labor at the hospital. And here's the quote. Oh, I'm just going to say the expletive. Oh, shit. But of course, he, which, what the fuck? This is corporate. We're on a Slack. But of course, he, Frank responds, amazing. You shouldn't even be checking on Slack now, LOL. Sending a big hug and lots of success. Enjoy the most amazing experience of your life. Tana Stewart, an attorney for Mavra Mattis, told Newsweek that the Slack message with Frank was related to another issue and not the meeting that Mavra Mattis participated in that day. Stewart added that as a coworker and not her boss, Frank didn't have the authority to relieve her of any obligation to participate in the meeting. So, I mean, this obviously seems a bit of a rosy end to it, but what she's saying is like there was a pressure for me to attend that meeting even though I was I was in labor or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and then you have this follow-up from Frank, and it's like, cool, but that doesn't assuage me of anything. I'm still scared that my head's on the fucking chopping block here because I'm having a child. Mavra Mattis told Vulture that when she told her boss she was in labor, and he asked whether she'd still join a scheduled team meeting. I was so fearful of losing my job, she told the outlet. I knew that I didn't want to give them any excuse for letting me go. You shouldn't even be asked that question. Like, obviously, you tell them you're in labor and they're asking, can you still show up to this meeting? No, don't ask me that fucking question, you fucking moron. Are you serious? I'm having a child. I am bearing life. I am a vessel. What the fuck are you talking about? This should be a totally fucking protective thing. Mavra Mattis alleged in the lawsuit that there was a pattern of retaliation against employees who spoke up about workplace issues, particularly women who raised concerns related to harassment or discrimination. According to the complaint, those concerns were met with resistance rather than corrective action. She said her newborn required extra care and a stay in the neonatal intensive care unit. And she was asked to work the following month on an upcoming product launch. Also, can you think about it, like, whatever the fuck it is, like some Feastables thing or like some fucking Mr. Beast Hunger Game fucking thing, like brother, it can wait. Or can't you put someone else fucking on it? But then you realize that, like, as expensive as the shit is, he is trying to run this shit on such a fucking shoestring budget, and like very much like, hey, I want to be able to control it to some kind of extent, like HR team in general, that it's like, dude, this is barely legal, bro. It just feels like it's barely legal anytime you look under the goddamn hood. But let me continue. I'm sorry, I'm in the weeds here. Listen, a month after giving birth, she was asked to manage an exhibition booth that required both long periods of standing, physical work, and required her to be away from her newborn for approximately 10 hours. The next month, she said she was asked to work on a video production that was being shot in Brazil. Come to Brazil. In its handbook, How to Succeed in Mr. Beast Production, which is the handbook I was referencing earlier, Mr. Beast informs employees that they are expected to get the job done at any personal cost and no excuse is acceptable, Mavromatis' lawsuit said. She knew if she did not continue to grind to get work done as asked by Mr. Beast managers and expected by Mr. Beast, she would not have a job to return to after her leave. Mavromatis said she was fired 3 weeks after returning to work and was told her role was being eliminated. She said a man was later hired to perform duties that she had done as a social media manager. So essentially, that is what happened. That was the grim reality of the situation. Oops, sorry, you had a baby. Fuck off. That's not legal. But essentially, you read the handbook, you know the rules. That's not legal, by the way. But at the end of the day, in Jimmy's mind, he can just will that shit to be in existence. And so far, it hasn't come back to fucking bite him, which is fucking crazy. So that is why I really wanted to highlight this lawsuit, and we'll see where this goes. I at least hope for this person, Mavromatis, that she can at least get a bag, like a settlement bag of some fucking sort. Because, I mean, it just seems that this, like, money is the only binary thing that Jimmy seems to understand and work with and work under. People aren't people to him. You're just a part of this fucking YouTube algorithm, and that's it. And he'll pay to make it work. That's the gig. That's the situation, I guess. What's right? What's fucking wrong? And I mean, shit, this is coming from a person. Look, I have defended this motherfucker on certain issues because at the end of the day, if you're throwing money around for a good fucking cause, all right, fine, whatever. You can talk about the ethics of Jimmy fucking Beast, man, whatever. But I don't really give that much of a shit if he's at least being that philanthropic, whatever. But that being said, you still hold these motherfuckers to the fire every fucking single time they do something fucked up and you catch them on it. You should. Because sadly, I don't know where this is going to go legally, you know? And once again, that is why I'm saying I hope Mavromatis gets the bag. I hope anyone who goes up against Mr. Beast gets their bag at the very least. Because I don't think we're going to get justice in this matter. You think they're going to lock this motherfucker away? I don't know. Doubtful. But anyway, speaking of people who they're looking to lock up, we have a heist to cover. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our last break and we'll close it out. Oh, man. The newest Mr. Beast episode thing I saw, I was watching a streamer react to it. Essentially, he tried to, he bought out a whole grocery store and, said, hey, come to this grocery store. We'll give you, discounted food or whatever the fuck, da-da-da-da. So everyone's coming to this grocery store. He walks in and he goes, hey, I'm going to give, I think, the winner, $250,000. To stay in this grocery store and be the last person in the grocery store, some shit like that. Gotta. I'm barely paying attention to this shit. But he then I think one of the first early things he says is hey, I'll pay for everyone's groceries if you leave now. You get your discounted groceries, whatever the fuck. So you winnow it down. This essentially gets winnowed down to a small group of people, and they all are locked in. And essentially, instead of just saying, hey, I will pay you guys out to some kind of way, or I'll kind of make it some kind of all or nothing thing, essentially saying, hey, I'm going to just money out this thing. He goes, okay, I'll fill up this whole grocery store and you guys have to eat everything in the grocery store. And you have like a year. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's just such a crazy thing. And it literally felt like Hunger Games. I'm like, we are actually watching this via, excuse me, a YouTube experience. Like, thank you, Mr. Beast. I guess it just felt so weird. It felt so odd. And these are people who are like giving up their whole lives, or giving up a year's time, a year away from their family to win what? Essentially like $250,000. And like the way that the new way would be split up. So it's like you spent so long in here, I think like 67 days, or maybe, I'm not sure. He's like, okay, flip it, reverse it. You're going to do a year now as this little group. And, I just can't imagine being away from your family that long and then say, hey, tack on an extra amount of time just to potentially get, once again, 250,000. Like, it's like, okay, I'll give you $1 million and then split it. Sorry, I got in the weeds there. I couldn't finish my sentence. But yeah, it's like, dude, like, yeah, it's worth it in these trying times. Everyone needs fucking money, man. But like, come on, dude. This is it's just a crazy way to get some clicks, I guess. Anyway, sorry. I'm in the weeds. Ooh. Okay. Now this is from 19 News. Thieves steal up to $1.8 million in Brinks truck robbery, police source says. Police in Philadelphia say two men armed with assault rifles robbed a Brinks armored truck and got away with up to $1.8 million. Philadelphia police are looking for two suspects who robbed a Brinks truck Tuesday morning outside a check cashing business. Law enforcement sources say a car pulled into a parking lot. Two masked men jumped out and robbed the truck. Police are still searching for the suspects who were reportedly armed with assault rifles. According to a police source, they may have gotten away with up to $1.8 million. Police found the suspected getaway car later Tuesday morning about 9 miles away. The incident follows a string of armored truck robberies in Philadelphia last summer. The FBI arrested two men connected to those robberies. So maybe there's more to that there. I don't know. That being said, I have gotten into the habit more recently of rating heists. So where would I rate this? Now, I can't rate it an A. The reason I can't rate it an A, weapons were involved. You did technically threaten violence with that right there. I tend to go, you got to take just a grade off for that right then and there. But it seems like a pretty good getaway. No one was hurt. That is worth noting. It's giving B+. I don't know. I feel like this is a B+ situation, especially if they get away. Who knows that this is a connection thing? Once again, if this is connected to the string, maybe some people are on their fucking Point Break ass fucking shit in Philadelphia. But yeah, that remains to be seen. If I get any more details out of this shit, or if there's any more heists, I'll be trying to cover that motherfucking shit, because I love a good heist. Okay, I can't help myself. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have for today. Considering we're hitting this shit back to back, there's no need for me to shill. So hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.